I was stunned that what you said, which you obviously will share here in a second, it makes no sense to me why people would get emotional about that. It wasn't in any context negative. So it was funny that people like got all bristly about it, given that it was just a, hey, here's the 3-step way to, to be a better manager, basically. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Business Lunch Podcast with your hosts, me, that's Roland Frazier, and Ryan Dice, who is now one of the most hated people online.
I'm super hated. Yeah, according to a bunch of micromanagers. I got my first viral hate piece in a long time.
Have you had a viral love piece yet?
Yeah, I don't think love pieces ever go viral.
Okay, that's fair.
So no, never, never. I think you only go viral for if you say something that really pisses off a lot of people, which apparently I did.
I was stunned that what you said, which you obviously will share here in a second, it makes no sense to me why people would get emotional about that. It wasn't in any context negative. So it was funny that people like got all bristly about it, given that it was just a, hey, here's the 3-step way to, to be a better manager, basically. But why don't you share first the virality and then we'll talk about what it was.
Yeah, well, I'll give some backstory on this. So I recently started publishing an email newsletter after, it seems like everybody was doing it. And so I wanted to wait until the trend was basically over and then jump all the way into it. Like that's kind of that's my strategy. I first wrote about email newsletters back in 2007. I don't know if you knew that, but in 2007, I put out a little ebook called The Great Easing Experiment. So I was very early. And now I'm super late. I want to miss the opportunity as much as possible. No, I decided I want to start publishing a weekly newsletter. The idea is it's called the Accidental MBA, and it's just something that I've figured out accidentally, running businesses for the past 20 plus years, kind of just a way for me to aggregate some of the knowledge that I've had, put it out there, see if I can share something with the world. And yeah, I'll be honest, when I published this particular issue, and I was almost embarrassed by it because I'm like, this is the most kind of generic, obvious kind of thing. But it was the week before my kids' spring break. And so I just had to get something out there. And so I put it out there thinking this is not that big a deal. And when I published it to the subscriber list, I got this typical amount of feedback, all positive. I published it on LinkedIn. Generally, everybody was like, this makes a lot of sense. A couple of people were like, I disagree with this, but that's fine. But what I've had the team doing is anything I post on LinkedIn, they're cross-posting it on Facebook and Instagram and other places. And holy crap, when this thing hit my Facebook page, and I didn't even notice it because I was basically out of town, it went nuts. I mean, if a normal post would get 40, 50,000 reach, it might get 100 comments or something like that. This one got over 2 million impressions so far, and 1,000, 1,500 something comments, something crazy like that. And so, yeah, I thought it'd be fun just to kind of talk about, I'd love to get your take and see what in this do you think is controversial, if anything?
I wonder did you look at who the comments, was there a significant influencer or somebody with a lot of reach that came in on it that would have caused it or that shared it? Because I noticed it had 300 or 400 shares too, I think, didn't it?
Yeah. I didn't, nothing that I noticed. So I guess I'm gonna read the piece just really quickly because it's not that long. I mean, all these are designed to be read in 2 minutes or less. But it's basically, hey, if you're bombarded with got-a-minute questions, you don't have a team, you have a swarm of problem messengers. To fix this once for all, implement the 3-3-3 method. So this is pretty simple. Here's how it works. Tell your team, step number 1, to spend 3 minutes. So it's the 3-minute Google first rule. Basically, before you bring me a problem, take 3 minutes to Google it or ChatGPT it. And I firmly believe that every manager should do this because I don't know about you. I feel like for the longest time, I was essentially just Googling stuff for the people who work for me. And it drove me nuts. So I'm like, rule number 1, step number 1, just take 3 minutes, see if you can't Google it. Step number 2 is ask 3 peers. See if there's just 3 other people. Basically, if before you tap somebody on the shoulder, frankly, just tap a less expensive shoulder. right? And so I said, the step 2 is the 3-peer rule. If they still need help, they must consult at least 3 peers before escalating the issue to a superior, and definitely before kicking it up to the CEO. Doesn't matter if it's peers at the company or peers in a public forum. They just need to seek the advice of others at their level before engaging their bosses. There's wisdom in groups, especially when the number of these groups are in the trenches like they are. So I'm not trying to diminish the value of the peers. I'm saying they're in the trenches too. Oftentimes people bring me questions and I'm like, I don't know, give me some context. I don't know what you're talking about. And then step 3, if you're going to bring it to me, then bring me at least 3 possible solutions. And so this goes back to the 1-3-1 rule that we teach, that we talked about. Have 1 clearly stated problem, 3 possible solutions to show that you've done some homework, and then 1 recommendation. And then based on that, we can have a conversation. And so, why does this work? Most problems don't need you. They just need better filters. This system builds an autonomous team and frees you to focus. The result, fewer interruptions, smarter problem solvers, and a massive productivity boost. Now, that to me seems highly uncontroversial. But
why are you calling all workers stupid, Ryan?
My God, right. I mean, I guess the way that people took this is that it's so funny because like half of the comments were like, yeah, obviously. Like, and my favorite, somebody who was a teacher was like, I basically have my students do something similar. Like, and I don't know if you remember this, like when you were in school, but I would ask the teacher how to spell something and be like, go look it up in the dictionary.
I think you're just digging your own grave, because you're saying that basically workers are no smarter than elementary school children.
It's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm going to double down on it. And the other thing that I'll say is, having now parented 4 children, this is what I do with my own kids. They'll ask me a question. I'm like, well, what do you think? Like, let's try to figure this out for yourself. And what cracked me up is people were basically saying, oh, you think they're dumb, you think they're not smart. It's like, no, it's actually the opposite. I think that they actually are smart. I think that they have the ability to solve the problems themselves. I want them to believe that too.
Yeah.
So
I liked the ones that said, well, what are managers for then?
Yeah. So there were the people who thought that I was like insulting the employees. And I'm like, I kind of think you are. And then, people who are like, well, what do you think that managers are for? And it's like, dude, this mentality is exactly why this middle layer of management just gets cut and they're never missed.
I think it's interesting though, because I didn't have the context of where you had released it before. I think you rule out the newsletter because those are people that generally probably like you, but not LinkedIn, which I think is a more professional crowd. And so the fact that you didn't receive this kind of response on LinkedIn, but you did on the on the social network that is now Facebook, and that's where it blew up. And that just feels to me like a place where nobody I know is on Facebook anymore. That it is a place for people who have way more time than they have, anything else. And so those people are there. Maybe it's lower level management people that saw you as a, taking a superior position of, well, the way that you do that is 3-3-3. And I don't respect frameworks, or, they were just looking for something to hate on. But it doesn't make any sense, because everything that is in there is positive, and everything is about building a team that is smarter, that will have the opportunity to advance. It is actually enriching for the people who are being asked to participate in this program. So it's funny that from what I read, and I only read maybe 150 of the comments, but they seem to lean extremely negative, the bulk of them more than positive.
Yeah. And that was exactly it. Yeah. Way more negative than positive. And it was interesting because I did see some of it on LinkedIn. Like there was some kind of negativity
makes sense.
Towards it, but not the gross preponderance that you see here. So I guess the question is like, now what, right? What does this mean? And kind of what should we do when something like this happens? Because what I know is that there would have been a time had this happened, I would have felt the need to go in there and respond to basically every single one of these people who had, said that I was wrong. I can tell you right now, I did not do that. I haven't responded. I haven't responded to any of them because I was busy and didn't have time. But I mean, what do you think? What do you think is the appropriate response when you put something out there and people are just like, you're an idiot and you get a ton of hate?
It depends on what your desired outcome is. What's your desired
So walk me through. What do you think I should do on this?
I think it depends on your desired outcome. If the desired outcome is more reach and attention to the newsletter, then I would double down and polarize, and I would basically find a creative way to challenge the poke at the people who are poking at you, because then they'll become even more stirred up and frenetic and feel like they've got to tell 1,000 people and post again, and that'll get you more reach because the algorithms will reward the activity. And that's not a bad way to go. And we know that you're not going to make everybody happy, and most of those people are not your audience, but if it helps you reach more people that are, then that's probably a net positive. I think the worst thing you could do would be to apologize and say, no, I didn't really mean to offend. What I was trying to do, I think that justifying, explaining, or apologizing isn't helpful at all.